All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I wanted to talk about the link between the New York Jets and the Philadelphia Eagles in regards to this upcoming NFL trade deadline, right? We've already, ironically enough, seen the Eagles and the Jets pull off a trade, Michael Carter and a 2027 seventh rounder going to Philly in exchange for wide receiver John Mechie and a 2027 sixth rounder. All cool there. Seems like the Eagles are not done adding pieces. Now, they've been linked to a bunch of different players from a bunch of different teams, right? Obviously, the Eagles are in complete win-now mode. They need help, right? They need some more. They actually just acquired Jair Alexander, right? So they doubled down at the cornerback position, but yet there are still reports coming out. I believe the one that's most recent is actually from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, reporting that the Eagles are looking for a pass rusher, right? So more defensive help for Vic Fangio. There's been two teams linked to the Eagles, the Jets and the Dolphins. Let's talk about Miami first. So they obviously have a lot of players in the trade block, Bradley Chubb being one of them, Jaelan Phillips being another. Both guys have direct ties to Fangio. Okay, both guys fit exactly what he wants to do on the defensive side of the football, and both guys would come in and be upgrades there, right? Obviously, the loss of Josh Sweat to the Arizona Cardinals, it's obvious, right? The Eagles need more firepower, and Bradley Chubb or Jaelan Phillips would come in and check, those boxes, right? They are good players. And obviously, Fangio has a long history with Bradley Chubb, but in any case, you look at both of those guys, yes, they do make sense. I could easily see the Eagles making a trade, but here's the deal. There are other teams that need a pass rusher. There are other teams in the NFL that really need help getting after the passer, right? Some win-now teams that have just struggled to do it. I mean, you look at a team like the Baltimore Ravens, that defense under Zach Orr, first of all, they need to figure out how to stop the run, but, getting after the passer has been somewhat of a question mark this season. They traded away Owe, right? I mean, you look at a team like the Detroit Lions. Do they really have they even had a consistent edge rusher opposite of Hutchinson? Yes, of course, Hutchinson is fantastic. He's amazing. He's elite. Just signed that big money deal, which is, my buddy Kyle's a huge Lions fan. He was pumped, but he's been saying the same thing for years. Where is the other pass rusher next to Hutchinson? We don't have one. So could this be the year where the Lions finally pounce at the deadline saying, you know what, we're going to make that big time swing? There's, there's going to be other bidders here. There's also reports that the Buffalo Bills are looking for help, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. There's teams are going to be calling. So again, we'll see what happens there. But to be fair, Jaelan Phillips, Bradley Chubb, they do make sense for the Eagles. Here's where the Jets come into play. According to reporters, the two names that continue to pop up, the two names that teams continue to call about, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. Now, we've heard that Jermaine Johnson is looking like he's going to be staying. We've had the Wolf of Wall Street tweet from Jermaine. He obviously is under contract for this season and next season, still his rookie deal. I think it was Connor Hughes that reported that he's probably not going to be going anywhere. So I'm all for that. I would actually start negotiating a contract extension with Jermaine. I think he's a really good player, really good edge setter, really good run stuffer at the DN position. Can play in a 3-4, 4-3, vocal leader. And we're also really thin, so I don't want to get rid of these edge rushers. I don't. They're all young. But even though I want to keep these players, I don't want Darren Muji to hang up the phone if he gets a call from whoever, Detroit, Philly, saying, hey, we have a trade proposal for one of your pass rushers. I want Muji to at least listen to the offers that are coming in. But again, going back to Philly, Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson. Would either player come in and benefit that defense? I think the answer is yes for both players. And why they're linked to the Jets constantly? Because Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas is now back with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jets hired him from Philly. Now he's back in Philly. And there has been some trade deadline buzz that Joe Douglas could look to go out and acquire, or, could try to push Philadelphia's hands, because it's not like he's making the decisions. It's still Howie Roseman. Obviously he could be a major influencing piece in acquiring some players that obviously he picked in the first round two guys that he thinks very, very highly of in Jermaine and Will. So who knows what to believe at this point. I think common sense would tell you, and this is just assuming that we're not blown away with some sort of Jamal Adams sort of package here. If I had to take a guess, I think McDonald stays. I think Jermaine Johnson stays. I think Quinnen Williams stays. Again, assuming we don't get a humongous package. I think Breece Hall stays at this point, but I do think Quincy Williams does get moved. There has just been no urgency, at least from the outside, that the Jets are trying to re-sign Quincy Williams. This was a talking point back in the summer. Could the Jets re-sign him? Did they want to, have a couple games in the system to really try to figure things out? Or was this, hey, he's a good player, but he's just going to play out his expiring deal? We obviously have Francisco Mauigoa, who's coming onto the scene, improving, I want to say, week by week, which is a really, really good sign. But, I mean, you look at the amount of teams that need help at linebacker, man. The Bucs, the Falcons, the 49ers. The Falcons and the 49ers, well, I guess we can throw the Bucs into the mix as well. 3 teams that are led by Jets, former coaches here, but obviously Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich, the major connections to Quincy. But I do feel like, he would make sense in all 3 of those spots. I also think that Pete Carroll and the Raiders can make some sense for Quincy Williams. I don't know if they want to be trading draft picks given their record, but I still look at that as like a defensive systematic fit over there. I don't know. I just don't. I don't want to see Quincy go, but it's the same logic with Breece, right? If the Jets don't, they know internally they're not re-signing him, then you got to trade him and get at least something for him, as opposed to just doing nothing, letting the season play out as a 1-7 team right now in the middle of the bye week, and let the season just expire, and then Quincy's on another team playing really well, and the Jets get nothing in return outside of a future comp pick maybe. So and that's not even a sure thing. For me, I just feel like the Dolphins pass rushers are a little bit more likely to go, right? They just fired Chris Greer. I just feel like there's no point in hanging on to some of these guys if you're the Miami Dolphins, whereas the Jets were thin at pass rusher. These guys are young. These guys are controllable. They're under contract for, in Jermaine's case, the next season and a half. In Will McDonald's case, the next 2.5 seasons. I just don't see the rush. I don't see the need. Again, unless we get we love Jermaine Johnson. Here's this amazing package. We love Will McDonald. Here's some amazing package. At that point, you got to listen. But I just don't really see it happening. Who knows? Maybe I'm dead wrong here. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.